There is a moment that never shows up on social media, a moment that does not look heroic, successful, or inspiring from the outside. It is quiet, heavy, almost invisible. It is the moment when quitting feels logical, justified, and emotionally necessary. And yet, it is also the moment where a life quietly changes direction. Not because circumstances improved, but because a decision was made internally long before any external result appeared. That day did not begin with confidence. It began with exhaustion, the kind of exhaustion that sleep does not fix. The kind that comes from carrying unresolved doubt for too long. I had reached a point where effort felt pointless and hope felt naive. The gap between where I was and where I wanted to be felt so wide that my mind started negotiating surrender as a form of self-protection. Quitting felt like relief, like rest, like honesty. This is how the mind works under prolonged pressure. Neuroscience shows that when the brain experiences repeated stress without perceived reward, it begins to shut down motivation circuits. The nervous system interprets continued effort as threat. It whispers that stopping is safer than continuing. This is not weakness, it is biology. But biology does not get to decide your future unless you let it. I remember sitting in silence, replaying every failed attempt, every delay, every promise I had broken to myself. The weight was not failure itself. The weight was identity erosion. When you quit enough times, you stop trusting your own word. And when self-trust collapses, even simple actions feel heavy. You hesitate, you overthink, you wait. Life becomes a series of almost. That day, the option to quit felt clean, rational, even mature. I could explain it convincingly. I could justify it to others and to myself. But underneath those explanations was a deeper fear. If I quit now, I would never know who I could have become. And that thought hurt more than the exhaustion. Scarcity mindset amplifies this struggle. When resources feel limited, time, energy, money, emotional capacity, the brain prioritizes immediate relief over long-term growth. That is why people quit right before breakthroughs. Not because they are close to success, but because the nervous system cannot see beyond the present discomfort. It wants safety now, not meaning later. I realized something uncomfortable in that moment. The desire to quit was not about the situation. It was about avoiding the feeling of being uncomfortable without guarantees. I wanted certainty before commitment, proof before persistence, but life does not work that way. Growth demands movement before evidence. The decision not to quit did not feel powerful. It felt quiet, almost boring. There was no surge of motivation, no dramatic speech, just a calm, grounded sentence in my mind. I will not stop here. Not because I am confident, but because stopping would cost me more than continuing. That was the greatest lesson. Discipline is not intensity. It is loyalty to a decision long after the emotion that created it has faded. Psychology confirms this. Long-term change is driven not by emotional peaks, but by identity-based commitment. When you decide who you are, behavior follows, even when feelings resist. From that day forward, I stopped waiting to feel ready. Readiness is a feeling. Commitment is a decision. I allowed discomfort without interpreting it as failure. I allowed slow progress without calling it useless. I stopped negotiating with resistance and started acting alongside it. The body responded first. My posture changed. My breathing slowed. My sleep stabilized. This is not coincidence. When you stop running from discomfort, the nervous system recalibrates. Predictability returns. Anxiety decreases. Focus increases. The mind begins to trust you again. I simplified everything. Fewer goals, fewer distractions, fewer excuses. Structure replaced chaos. Fixed routines replaced emotional decision-making. Science shows that routines reduce cognitive load, freeing mental energy for execution. This is why disciplined people appear calm. They are not fighting themselves all day. Halfway through this internal shift, it became clear that no one sustains transformation alone. There are guidance materials that help people understand why they want to quit, how to break self-sabotage loops, and how to rebuild mental resilience. The links are in the description. Quitting is often misunderstood. It is not always giving up on life. Sometimes it is giving up on an identity that feels too painful to maintain. People quit not because they are incapable, but because continuing threatens the version of themselves they have learned to survive as. Growth requires the death of old identities, and the mind resists that loss. I learned to separate pain from danger. Discomfort does not mean harm. Effort does not mean failure. Slowness does not mean stagnation. These distinctions matter. The brain treats perceived threat as real threat. When you reinterpret sensations correctly, the fear response weakens. Spiritual grounding played a role as well. Not as escape, but as anchoring. Silence, prayer, stillness. These moments reminded me that urgency is often manufactured by fear. That clarity emerges when the mind stops arguing with reality. That strength grows when you stop demanding guarantees from life. Over time, consistency rebuilds something essential: self-respect. Not confidence, respect. Confidence fluctuates. Self-respect compounds. Each day I did what I said I would do, even imperfectly. That respect deepened. And with it came calm power. Opportunities did not appear immediately. Results did not explode, but my relationship with effort changed. I no longer measured progress by outcomes alone. I measured it by alignment. Am I acting in accordance with who I decided to be? That question became my compass. The greatest lesson was not that persistence always leads to success. That is a fantasy. The real lesson is that quitting always guarantees regret. Not dramatic regret, but quiet, lingering regret. The kind that shows up years later when you wonder why you stopped believing in yourself. If you are standing at that edge right now, understand this. The urge to quit is not a sign that you should stop. It is a sign that something inside you is being asked to evolve. You do not need certainty. You need commitment. Throughout this journey, clarity deepened through ebooks that strengthened the mind, broke cycles of self-doubt, and helped rebuild identity from within. If you feel ready for that step, the links are in the description. This is not about never resting. It is about not abandoning yourself. You can slow down. You can pause. But do not quit on the version of you that has not yet had a chance to emerge. The day I decided not to quit, nothing changed externally, but everything shifted internally. And that was enough to change the direction of my life. When the mind changes, the body responds. When the body aligns, life transforms. Like the video, subscribe to the Mind Forge, and keep forging your mind, even when it would be easier to walk away.